Have you ever tried to really listen when the message isn't clear? Or maybe when the speaker is? Well, let's just say not your usual type.
hmm
What if the voice you're tuning into isn't quite human?
That definitely changes things.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our deep dive today, it focuses on this single, pretty gripping source. It's an audio click from a Wonderbox Gold Spirit session.
Right, featuring a guy named Steve Huff.
Exactly. And we're really diving into this recorded conversation where the lines get fuzzy, between who's listening, who's speaking,
Mm.
even what's real.
It gets blurry fast.
So what happens when someone tries to communicate with something, well, beyond our normal frame of reference? That's what we want to explore.
Yeah, looking at the questions asked.
The kind of cryptic answers he gets back.
And underneath it all, that very human thing, right? That need for connection, for understanding, even in a situation like this.
Absolutely.
And what's really interesting here, I think, isn't just the potential content, the spirit side of it, but the actual act of communication itself.
How so?
Well, just the fact that someone is seeking answers like this, and how we as humans try to make sense of responses coming from, well, the unknown.
Hmm.
You can learn a lot about human curiosity, our search for meaning, just from a short recording like this one, especially when things are ambiguous.
So let's paint the picture. The session opens, and Steve Huff introduces himself. He says, I come as a friend, I come in peace, I mean no harm.
Right off the bat, it sets this tone, doesn't it? Sincere, cautious maybe.
Definitely vulnerable, almost.
And then almost straight away, you get this very real-world problem dropped in.
Yeah.
My tablet only has 5% battery.
It's such a human detail.
Isn't it? It kind of grounds this whole potentially otherworldly thing in like the most mundane reality, adds this sudden urgency.
A ticking clock on talking to the beyond.
Pretty much a finite window for whatever connection he's hoping to make. It highlights those limitations we always bring, even to something extraordinary.
Right. He's literally up against the clock.
Yeah.
And just for anyone listening who might not know, what exactly is a Wonderbox Gold?
Good point. So it's a device often used in EVP work. Electronic voice phenomena.
Okay.
Basically, it sweeps radio frequencies or generates white noise. The idea for practitioners is that spirits can manipulate that sound source to form words.
So it's a tool to try and bridge that gap.
Exactly, a technological attempt. But like we said, the human element, the dying battery, it's always right there too.
So, okay, the session gets going, and Steve starts asking these really fundamental questions. He's trying to figure out who or what he's dealing with.
Yeah, things like,
Are you a ghost? Are you good? Can you feel love? Basic stuff, but crucial.
and he even tries to set a clear boundary, right? He says something like, I reject any evil, you're not allowed to come into me.
Trying to establish control.
Then you get one of the responses that just sort of stops you in your track.
Really unsettling one.
Yeah, a voice comes through pretty clearly and says, you're in me.
Whoa, okay, that's different.
It's a total flip, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just completely upends his whole premise of an external entity he needs to keep out.
Right, it shifts everything.
That phrase, you're in me, it fundamentally changes the interaction. It's not just startling, it challenges his boundaries, his definition of the encounter.
It goes from is it here to am I part of it?
Exactly. Which is, let's just say, a much more unsettling thought if you're trying to communicate with something external. It feels more like invasion than presence.
Yeah, definitely.
And, this whole session, it's a really potent example of how we project our own needs, like for boundaries, for love, onto ambiguous signals.
Trying to find order in it.
We try so hard to make sense of it, find coherence. Maybe the real insight isn't about the spirit, but about how our own minds work when we're faced with, well, chaos or the unknown.
That makes sense. But is there a risk then, given the context, that Steve or anyone in that situation might be reading too much into these, cryptic bits?
Oh, absolutely. That's the constant tension, isn't it? Our brains are pattern-making machines. We want narrative.
Yeah.
So yes, there's always the possibility of, let's say, overinterpretation, seeing meaning where maybe there isn't any intended.
Or where the meaning is just random noise.
Could be. But what's interesting is how Steve keeps pushing, trying to get clarity, and the communication, it actually shifts again.
Right. Because later on, the voice says something else surprising.
Yeah, it claims, I'm Angel.
Which is a big leap from, you're in me.
A huge leap, and Steve sort of accepts it, or at least acknowledges it. He replies, you're Angel, you'll be back.
So it goes from potentially sinister or invasive
Yeah.
to angelic in just a short time.
It's a really fascinating turn, showing how fluid and maybe even contradictory the responses can be.
And through all this, you can hear Steve getting, well, a bit frustrated, right?
Definitely. He asks point blank, "Why can't you answer me directly every whisper?" He wants straightforward answers.
He wants clarity, which leads him to basically plead for guidance.
He says, "But help me figure out what I'm supposed to do here in all of this. The whole house. What?"
Yeah, can you tell me what you want from me? What do you want from me? It's such a raw, human appeal for direction.
A demand for practical help from this ethereal source.
And it's around then he asks us about vampires.
Right, which is specific, and he clarifies energy vampires.
Okay, what's that usually mean in these kinds of contexts?
Well, typically in spiritual or kind of self-help circles, it refers to people who, metaphorically speaking, drain your emotional energy, through negativity or neediness.
Got it. So he's looking for advice on dealing with that kind of thing.
Seems like it. It shows he's trying to get practical advice for his life, grounding this otherworldly chat in real-world concerns.
It really brings it back to the human element again.
Absolutely. And, whether Steve actually contacted a spirit or not, that's almost secondary to how his mind and our minds grapple with this stuff.
How we try to make sense of ambiguity.
Exactly. The session is like a mirror. It reflects our own psychological need to find meaning, even in static or cryptic feedback. And think about his recurring questions about love.
Yeah, he keeps coming back to that. Are you capable of love? Do you have love within you? I would hope so.
It's so fundamental. And then that final, really hesitant question.
Should I stop talking to you?
Yeah. It all just underlines this deep, deep human drive for connection, for understanding, maybe even for reassurance, even when you're staring into the unknown, or something potentially unsettling.
It connects back to that core search for meaning, for warmth, even in the strangest conversations.
Precisely.
So ultimately, this deep dive into Steve Huff's session, it really shows that even in these really unconventional communications, the big questions aren't just about who or what is on the other end. It's also about what the whole process reveals about us. Our own drive to connect, to understand, maybe even to feel some control when faced with things we don't get.
Well put.
So think about this. What does it all mean for you listening right now? If you encounter ambiguous information, especially from a source making claims like being an angel but also saying you're in me,
Yeah.
how do you decide?
Yeah, what do you accept?
Yeah.
What do you question?
Or what do you just observe? It raises that important question, doesn't it? What does help even look like when it supposedly comes from an unknown voice?
And what kind of love, what kind of connection are we actually searching for in those moments?
Definitely something to think about.